All right. Hey guys, it's Sam here. We're mid-afternoon, Friday, October 20th. And wow, is really just all you can say is about what's happening with Bitcoin. It's just amazing. What a time to be trading. Hopefully you've got some of this. If not, you're looking for an entry. They have not been easy. They come, they're quick, and you got to jump on them. And if not, you got to be patient and wait for the next time that you get a reasonable setup here. Now I'm back here on our sort of reference chart I've been using. This is the 4 hour against the dollar on Bitstamp. Now we've been looking on the 8 hour. I've taken it down to the 4, and you'll note that I've changed the pitchfork on this to accommodate these last major swings, so we can get some structural ideas about where we might likely run into some resistance. So we have high probability, at the very least, we're going to tap the median line, which puts it up here at about 61. 6100, we'll call it just for a round number. Now we got a bit of a cluster there, so we're likely to hit a bit of a bump there. And certainly not calling a top, but that's a likely place where we might expect to see the market stall. And with any luck, for anyone looking to get long or to add to any positions that they may have, we'd like to see that create an opportunity for a retracement, maybe to the outside edge of the pitchfork, and give us a chance to get in. We got some big upside targets here from where we sit. Now, if I scrunch this up a little bit, you can see our fib targets from this low here, from this entire move, from the last time we went down to our 618 to 65 box. Well, we went to the 23. We're to and through. We did get our reaction. That gave us the last opportunity to get long. But we do have up here the negative 618 off of that pull, which is up, we'll call it 7,000, very close by. So that's a contender for a longer term target, although, with Bitcoin, longer term can be a couple of days. Look what we've done just since this little retracement down here at 50.83 as we sit pushing up to 6,000. So just an amazing time to be trading. I mean, just how fortunate are we to be, a part of this. So listen, if you're not in, you got to be patient. It's not giving you easy entries. And any pullback is being absorbed so quickly that it makes chasing this difficult, and it's just not giving you easy entries. But let's break it down and see where we can find perhaps the next opportunity to either add or get a fresh long on. Now, I've as you see, I've redrawn with this pitchfork here, and we've got our target up here. And I'm going to take it. Let's see. Let me go down to a 1 hour and see if this helps get some clarity here. Okay, so here's our last low. So we have fib targets, of course, pulling from what's currently labeled our 2 low to this pivot, which I think we have a truncated fifth there on that third. So we come a few ticks shy of it, but I think that's more likely a good fifth here because of the 5 waves into it. So I'm calling that the top of our third, and we go within a couple of ticks of the 100% likely target for it relative to the 1. So I think we get a 3 here. Here's our ABC. We come down. So we've got fib targets, of course, off of this pull, pulling from 2 to 3 high down to our 4. First targets here. Here's the negative 23. Right. We've also, if we pull looking for alternate price projections, we've got the 1272 lining up right with that. So we get a little confluence right there. And then, of course, we get the median line, which is the high probability target that we're at least going to tap it. So it's, as to whether or not that becomes a top remains to be seen. There's nothing to show us any weakness really here. We're just screaming higher on the wave oscillator. That's attempting to put in new highs here. So we have the RSI running a little hot, so we may get a pullback. But if we're going to see this, I would be just very surprised if we don't tap the median line. Very surprised. So that puts us up here at about 6,100. So if that's where we're headed and we're looking for an entry, well, all we can do, first, we got to wait to see what the reaction is there. If we get up here, then we're looking for entry down here on the edge of the median line. So there's the 50, right? So you technically be down here, because at this point now, for all we know, we're just putting in a one wave. So if you'll recall from yesterday, when we were evaluating this on the 15-minute, we'll go over there and see if we got, there's a little bit more clarity here. So yesterday, so here's a good example of relabeling. So yesterday we thought perhaps we had our one high in here. So we had this labeled as a 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the 5 of the 1. And we were looking for a retracement down to the 50 to the 618, the high probability locations for entry, and support off of a one wave. Well, with this rip, this of course we got to relabel. So now this becomes our 3 high. We get a little triangle 4 for an ABC. We get this nice little pennant, and it just rips right through that and goes straight up. And you'll note on this scale, now we've just tapped the median line off of this pull here. So from our low here to our 3 high to our 4, we're just tapping the median line as we hit the negative 618, which we know is an extreme, and that 618 is pulled off of the 2 low here to the 3 high. We come to the 4, we go right to the 382 and the 50 here. Now we pull up here, likely resistance here. So is that a top? Well, remember, we're now on the 15-minute, and we've got higher targets up on our 1 hour and 4 hour that would suggest that we're likely going up to around 6,100. So if we're going, what you'll find that's characteristic about median lines is that if you stall and you don't move away quickly towards the outside edge, then there's likely just sort of a regrouping, if you will, here, as this gets ready to shoot to the next edge of the median line, the outside edge of the pitchfork. So target up here it synchronizes with our larger time frame. So I think we're likely heading up here. That would play structurally as we head towards that outside edge. We've got the negative 100 here, and then we've got the negative 23 from this pull, right? Do you see that? So we've got a good cluster here. So here's our last entry. Remember, we're down on the 15-minute. Here's our last entry. Here's 618, 100. Here's the 23 on the larger time frame. So we've got a good little pocket. Thus, I draw the little box up there, and we expect to see that as our likely top here for our one wave. Right? It all plays. Now we may get subdivision along the way here, but that's why I like to people, a lot of people, I have a lot of new people following me, and they're like, what's the deal with the devil bit, right? And it's really just a reflection of the fact that I am so influenced by what I see with pitchforks and how the market reacts to these. And again, it's just from being taught by some really talented traders that had greater insight than I when I was much younger and learning how to trade. And I would tell you that whenever you get 3 pivots, put a pitchfork on it, right? You'll be amazed at how responsive that is. So as I look at this, it doesn't surprise me that we're getting a little pause here at the negative 618 in the median line. Now maybe we get a little pullback to our outside edge. That's a contender for a long. We've got likely targets up here. Here's where the pitchfork can add some time perspective, because if you look at this, we get a sense of, well, structurally, if it's just going to keep going higher, when do we hit that outside edge? Well, we're not going to hit it here because of the time. Do you see this? So if we're going to go up to the outside edge and it's going to take its time, it starts pushing the target higher. Right? Do you see what I'm doing? So if we're going to take our time, or if we're going to do this, let me see if I show it to you this way, it might make more sense. If we're going to come back down to the outside edge, and then we're going to go higher, right? It starts putting it into more time. You get a time component. Now, we don't know that we're going to stop here. Now, say for example, we do this. We go here. Then we're looking for at least a return to the median line. And then we're looking for a move up to the next. Do I get it? Then we'd be looking for this. Right? Do you see how you get a time element playing in with that structure? So that's why it's really advantageous to look at these. Now, again, I'm on a 15-minute, so you want to consider coordinating that with what you're seeing over on the 4 hour. Let's go back there. Right, so we've got this big target up here, so we know this 6100 fits with what we see on our 15-minute. But if we're going to come down, now look at this. So if we're going, I'd be very surprised if we fail. But if we do, if we're going to come down before taking another run at it, then we get there in with like this. Right? Do you see how that time component comes into play? This will be very surprising to me, but we do have the median line on the smaller time frame. So you want to, that's why you want to keep multiple time frames up so you can see where is it responding. And if this is going to stall, then it's going to take a little bit more time. So right now, all we're trying to do is get a handle on a hard pivot that we can work from, that we can call a wave 1 high. So, when we get a pivot and we see a retracement that's substantial enough to call a pivot that we can work from, then we start pulling for the 2 wave, right? It depends on when this gets here. Now that could be it, but we don't have good subdivision here, so likely this is a 3. So my guess is, my best, well, guess maybe the wrong word, based on my analysis, how about I say it that way? We're going to this 6100. Now we may pull back a little before we get there, but I will always defer to the higher time frame. So my expectation is we're getting to 6100 before we see any sort of meaningful pullback. But listen, I'm wrong all the time. So it's just a potential roadmap. But you can use the price action here to give us clues. Well, most likely that's some sort of a third wave, most likely. So we wait for the 4 and expect one more leg up to complete the 5, to complete the 1, and then we wait for the 50% on that. And we hope we get it. That's really with Bitcoin, that's all you can do right now. If you're not long, I certainly wouldn't be buying up here, trying to squeeze from where we sit here at 59.40 to get to 6100. That's just, you may make money there, but it sets up a bad habit. It's just the wrong way to approach that. So, as I will say, I wouldn't be a buyer there. I would not be a buyer there. I'd be waiting for a retracement and use the structure here. Use the structure as to your advantage so you get an idea of when we're likely to get there. All right, so it remains to be seen, and as we've seen over these last few weekends, a lot of volatility in Bitcoin over the weekends. So what comes next? Well, we wait and see. So right now we just wait and see for when we can get a pivot. All right, I think that covers us on Bitcoin. Now, let's go over to the other 3 majors. So we'll go to Ethereum, where we're not getting much reaction. It's we've relabeled this because this certainly looks corrective. So do we have an ABC in here? We've got potentially a low here. We could on a smaller time frame we might be able to squeeze out. That is a 1 wave. This is looking corrective. If that's an ABC and this is going to end up being a 4, we're going to push down for 1 more. This is not the kind of price action you'd expect, but it may be just unfolding in some sort of a slow-moving diagonal. So my advice is no trade here, no trade until we get more clues as to what we've got. You'll recall that we're working on the assumption that this support down here has been a good low. We're looking for some clues that we get impulsive, but right now it's just sloppy. There's nothing to trade there. So unless you're already long or you took the short here off the 618 and the Vegas wave, there's really not a lot of action. All you can do is just keep pulling fibs and look for a reaction. So if we pull there, we're to the 50, between the 50 and the 618. If this starts to move, if we start to get this kind of action, well, then we reevaluate. Maybe we can carve out a 1 there, get a 2. I need to see signs of a 3. I need to see something meaningful. So there's the negative 618. That would be evidence that perhaps we've got a 1, 2, and a 3 underway. We stay internal, right? Here's our move. Till we take out that high, we're in the midst of an internal retracement of that swing. All right, so my suggestion is you wait on Ethereum, right? I'm as bullish as anyone on Ethereum, but I can't find a trade there that's worthwhile. Litecoin, now you'd expect that to be going with Bitcoin, and that's been a little disappointing as well. And I've relabeled again here, right? So if you think about the videos we've done the last couple of days, since we got this spike here, potential for this to start to go impulsive. So I've relabeled it here. It plays. We have this potential for this to have been an A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4. We complete the 5. Technically viable. We've got good levels down here to support it. So if we're going to start to go into an impulsive move, well, that plays. We get a nice 5-wave subdivision here for a 1. Here's the deep 2. We don't quite get to the 786. We don't overlap any structure here. So we start off. Potentially there's a 1. So what's our target? If this is going to be a good low, well, we draw the swing from low to high. We go right to the 50. And then we get this reaction today. Likely, it's in sympathy in concert with Bitcoin, but we're not seeing the same kind of screaming higher price movement that we're seeing in Bitcoin. We've just now come to. Well, let me take that off because we don't. That's only a contender. So really all we've done is kind of we've wicked through the 50, right? If we go from high to low, here's the 50. We got through it, but this is doesn't look ideal. So what would we want to see here? Well, if this is going to go into a 1-2, well then we'd be looking for a 1-2 here as well. So if I were determined to get into Litecoin here, I'd be looking for the edge of the pitchfork to hold. If it breaks below that, then this count is wrong. We could be going down here. We could be going deeper on this, and then you wait. So if that's tradable right there. You got the Vegas wave coming right into play. You could go down to a smaller time frame. So, or let me just open this up so we can get a handle on it. Could that play as a 1-2? Yeah, it might. Let's just draw it. This is the same thing you guys should be doing at this point. Well, there's the 1. Possibly we're just sitting at the 50, right? So that certainly could play. That certainly could play as a 1-2, but you're going to need to see strong price movement off of this. You got to at least get to the negative 23. There's the bigger negative 23. This is where I'd like to see it. So now you're going up to the negative 618, and then you've got 100% here. So right here, how do we know it's a 3? Well, it's got to be 100%. You see that purple line? Okay, so I'm taking some swing low. If this is a 1 wave, a 1 high, pulling from my 2, it's got to at least go 100% of the wave 1 for me to call it a third wave. And this here is just a subdivision. That degree is probably a little heavy. So this is potentially the 1-2 of that third wave leading us higher. And if we stay within the structure of the median line, this we could get here. It's going to have to do that in a hurry, right? So that's bringing the time element into the pitchfork again, right? Do you see that? So if it's going to get there, if it's going to go more slowly, and we get here now, and we go up to that target of the 100%. This is a good example. Okay, so we know the median line is the target. So if we're heading there, then we're looking for the bounce on the edge of the median line. Then we go up again. We're still haven't hit the median line. Then we get this kind of target. Do you see how that gives us a time element in addition to pattern? If it doesn't get there in that fashion, then we look at even higher, right? So if it's going to go more slowly, whoops, if I can get the little arrow. If it's going to go more slowly, then we start looking up even higher. And along the way, we're anticipating that we're going to get this kind of action. Bounce, pushing higher. That's giving us the structure that we can use to help time. Now we combine that with the fib pulls, and we get some possibilities to be, at least entering first, adding. We've got targets that now we can project with some confidence, and we're looking for fibs on the edge of the median line. That would be perfect use of it. But it depends on how quickly. I mean, because we could be here, we could be there tonight. It's just no way to know. We kind of have to watch and see. And then if we're coming back down here, are we going to overlap the 1? How deep are we going? But minimum target right here, and that lines up, of course, perfectly with the median line for the 100%. So a ways to go to get there. We're sitting here at the 50 at 60-ish, and we got to get at least to 67. Again, that could happen in the next couple hours, but until we see it, we really, unless you want to take it here because of the low risk, unless you want to take it on the edge of the median line, this first retrace into this little pocket here. I know this is getting hard to see, but you can draw these up on yours. So if I blow that up, if you want to get into Litecoin, well, there's your little window between the 50, which we just wicked. Take some of this off. The 50, which we just wicked, so stop could be, you could go down a little bit further because this is, you don't have to load the boat here. This is your first entry. We just laid out a roadmap that would give us lots of opportunity to add. So if you could buy it there with a stop, I'd go under the, I'd go under the 786, which would put you just under the extreme of the Vegas wave, because we're not talking about a lot of dollars here. So this is, entering, if you're entering here at 60 and a quarter, your stop's under the Vegas wave here at 58.60. So we're, it's a $2 stop, right? It's not one you go heavy on size here because it's your first step in, but that's tradable. That's tradable. Not the best looking trade I've ever seen. You don't have great subdivision, even if I take it down to a 15, it's not great, but you could probably, you can get a little a little ABC out of that. It's a little fat, but there's probably an ABC. But ideally, you're going to catch it. You want to use the structure to your advantage. So thus, I'd give that more room because it's not a lot of dollars. So if you wanted to be a buyer there, again, stop at 60 and a quarter, or entry at 60 and a quarter, stop at 58 and a half. So, if you're anxious to get long, that's a thought for you in terms of how to get in and use that structure to work for you. Okay, let's go just quickly review how am I on time. There's 22 minutes. So Dash, now this is another one we relabeled. Right? We thought potentially we had a one wave here. We were doing an ABC. That doesn't turn out to be the case. So now as you look at it, it's kind of following our alternate count, which was that we had this turned into an ABC. Right? It goes right up to the 50. We're moving down. Here's our next buy window. So we drew the box. Again, it's not rocket science. It's simply the 618 and the 65, and then I've got the negative 23 here. The negative 23 in this green line, which is drawn off of our 4 here, which went right to that window between the 618 and the 65, right to the Vegas wave, just a perfect short. If you're comfortable shorting in here, that's a perfect short with your target down here. So looks like we might be getting there sooner rather than later. So if that plays, then what we're looking for is potentially our second wave. Now keep in mind, we have the same thing happening here with the structure. Target is the median line. If we stall here, if we stall and we don't make the median line, that creates huge potential for it to rip back the other way. Right? So when it's very common, if it's not going to hit the median line, right, and it's now, we're lining up for down here around the 786. If it doesn't hit that and we stall here, we create huge potential for that to rip higher. So we'd be looking for a shallow 5, which would play. That's our algo target. If it keeps going, right, so that's one where you kind of have to watch. And the safer play, because we could easily head down here. We could easily head down. That's the larger. So here, this negative 23 is off of this 50. So it wants the median line. Algos want the median line. So here would be, if you're not going to buy it there, here's the next box. Right? So we want to see, so in something like this where you have these targets that are deeper and you can't, you don't want to try, you don't really want to try and be picking the falling knife here. The safer play is if we come here, we start to respond, is to wait to see this kind of action. So likely if we go there, then you're looking for the next pullback. That's the safer way to play it, because now you've got a pivot you're working off of, and the assumption is that you've got a hard pivot. If you're wrong and this gets taken out, then we're going much lower. So that way you can enter knowing that you're going to let the market prove you wrong, right? Not some arbitrary dollar amount that you're using based off of your risk tolerance. Where can I enter and stay within my trade plan and my risk tolerance with a close stop, knowing that I've got an account that's technically valid, and if I'm stopped out, it'll be a very small loser. And then I wait and see what the market tells me next, and I may have to move this whole thing down here. Then I do the same thing, and you wait for that little retracement. You get the idea? That's the safer way to play it, because you don't know you've got a pivot. You don't know you've got a pivot until you get a higher low. Right, if we're talking about buys, we get a pivot we think is good. We get a reaction. We come back down. Do we get a higher low? Right. So definition of a trend. Right now we're getting low, high, low, lower high, lower low. Right now we're looking for a lower low. That's trend. So why do we want to try and pick the bottom of the trend? Well, we've got some clues down here. We've got some targets that are reasonable in terms of our longer term structure. But listen, is with the volatility that we see in here and the abruptness of these moves, when in doubt, you're better to wait for the pivot to confirm. Then wait for the opportunity to take, if you're a buyer, to wait for the opportunity to take the first higher low, break the trend of lower lows and lower highs. Right, so that all potentially plays. We've got two good targets, but right now it's a wait and see in Dash. How am I on time? Okay, that's 26. All right, I'm going to wrap there on that, and then I've got a couple others to show you, so I'll just break it into a couple of videos. Okay, guys, that's it for now.